Welcome to the Storyteller Project, a series of interviews highlighting the people, places, and cultures to celebrate the rich diversity of the Roanoke Valley. This program is brought to you by Compassionate Roanoke, a citywide charter involving the Fralin Biomedical Research Institute and the School of Medicine at Virginia Tech, Radford University, Blue Ridge Literacy, and United Way of Roanoke Valley. As partners, these organizations have come together for the purpose of eliminating bias as we learn about stories of equity and inclusion and activate our cultural competence. I'm Abby Verdillo Hamilton, President and CEO of United Way of Roanoke Valley, and I'm here to kick off this series with Ahoo Salem, the Executive Director of Blue Ridge Literacy. Welcome, Ahoo.
Thank you, Abby.
I'm so excited to be here. So let us kick off the conversation by telling us a little bit about yourself and how you got connected with Blue Ridge Literacy.
Sure. Thank you for having me here. Now, this is a rather large question. It kind of entails my life story, but I'll try to summarize it in a way that fits our conversation. So, as you know, and as is relevant to our discussion today, I'm from Iran. I was born and I was raised in Iran for a good portion of my life. In 2007, I moved to Sweden, a small town in the south of Sweden called Lund, where my brother was already living, to pursue my graduate studies in the field of sustainability sciences. Now, during this graduate program, which was an international graduate program, two important things happened that eventually linked me to Blue Ridge Literacy. The first one was one of our classmates, Isaac, was from Roanoke. That's the long story short of how I am here in Roanoke so many years after. The second was, when I learned more about sustainability sciences, I actually got way more interested in the social aspects of sustainability, thinking about sustainable urban development and especially the inclusion and integration of immigrants in different host societies. So from there on, I continued with my graduate studies. I did another program in international migration. Then Isaac and we moved to Italy, where I did a doctoral fellowship in sociology of migration, and eventually we wanted to settle in a country that one of our families was in. So we came to the US. Isaac was already familiar with Blue Ridge Literacy. He kind of told me that I need to get connected with this organization because otherwise I would go out of my mind. I started volunteering at Blue Ridge Literacy probably the first weeks that I was in Roanoke, and I was so pleasantly surprised. I didn't know Roanoke was so diverse. I didn't know anything about the infrastructure of service providers and the sense of community that makes Roanoke what it is today. So from the early on, I was very, very much interested in Blue Ridge Literacy and wanted to remain connected. Of course, we decided to move to Northern Virginia for a range of reasons. We lived there for about 2 years, and then we moved back to Roanoke, again, to be closer to family. I was so happy to know about this position, the executive director position at Blue Ridge Literacy. So I applied, and I am still honored that I was selected to serve in this position since 2019.
Wow, what a wonderful story. It's always interesting to hear about how people come to Roanoke, and it looks like you've been preparing for this role with Blue Ridge Literacy all your life.
In some ways, I mean, this is really the sum of everything that I am interested in a society, in a community that really allows for moving towards what I envision for our learners, but also our larger community. So yes.
Fantastic. Now, I understand that this time of the year is important to the Iranian culture. Talk to us about why that is and what that means to your culture.
Sure. So spring, or the first day of spring, usually occurring on March 20th or March 21st, depending on the year, is what we call Nowruz. That is our New Year. So Nowruz, or the Persian New Year, is when we gather together with our family members and celebrate the start of the year, the rebirth of nature, and the beginning of spring. It happened this year on March 20th at 11:33 and 26 seconds a.m. exactly local time here.
Wow.
So the time is always very, very exact, but because of the way that the Earth orbits the sun, it changes by around 4 or 5 hours each year. Also this year in Iran, it is year 1401. We just entered the 15th century.
That's so neat.
That is neat.
So tell me, how does one celebrate Nowruz, and what traditions are involved leading up to it, maybe the day of, and then how long does it kind of go on?
Sure. So again, it is our new year. It is our biggest celebration. So as you mentioned, there is quite a bit of preparation going into it. Now, the preparation is not only unique to us, it's something that is commonly done in the world. It's spring cleaning.
Yes.
But the Iranian version of it is very, very thorough. In fact, we call it khune tekuni, which means shaking your house. So you clean every corner, you clean the windows, you take down the shades, you clean the curtains. Everything needs to be clean and sparkling. And as you can imagine, it's not very fun. But it's very rewarding. You start the new year with a completely clean and shiny house. Now, the fun part, especially if you're a kid, is the same applies to your appearance. So you are supposed to wear and buy new clothes. So as a kid growing up, for me, it was always really exciting. I would talk to my cousins and to my friends about what my Nowruz outfit would be, and we would try to be really trendy and fashionable for the event.
So for people like me who are like visual and want to experience the actual holiday, talk to us a little bit about like some of the tablescape that you have here, which is important to
Absolutely.
the whole process.
So the core of the Nowruz celebration and what we do on the day of Nowruz is around the half-seen table. Here we have some of the elements, but on the day of Nowruz, every family in Iran sets a table, half-seen table, which has 7 items on it. So haft means 7, and sin is the name of the letter letter sin in Farsi. It sounds like S. These items each represent health, wealth, prosperity, and all the good things in the new year. The centerpiece is sabze, or sprouts of some type of grain. Mine are lentil sprouts. Then the other items are garlic, sir for health, apple, seep for beauty, vinegar or sirke for patience, coins or sekke for prosperity, senjet, which is a fruit. It's a very interesting fruit. It's called Russian olives in English, for love, samanu, which is a wheat pudding for strength, and hyacinth as a symbol of spring, sombol. You also have other items on the table that are not necessarily starting with S. You have a mirror for self-reflection. You have candles for light. And mirror and candles are a recurring theme in many of the Iranian traditions. You have goldfish as a symbol of hope, and then you have book as a symbol of wisdom. So depending on your preferences, you can have a book of poetry by one of our classic poets, or some people have Quran on their half-seen.
Wow, I love the symbolism of it, and I love that it really kind of embodies like your wishes for the coming new year and a fresh start, and what you want to see in your life.
Absolutely.
As the year starts.
It all revolves around rebirth, regrowth, and it's a moment to sit and reflect on what happened before, and then have your New Year's resolution, really.
So I think you also brought to share some photos of what it looks like out in the community. Describe to us what we're seeing right now on the screen.
Sure. So what we are seeing now is actually one of my favorite parts leading to Nowruz, and these are the Nowruz markets. So before Nowruz, leading up to it, starting from a few weeks before, there are all these pop-up markets happening in different parts of the city. Now the photos that I'm sharing here are from the specific neighborhood that I grew up in. And there you can buy any of the items that goes on the half-seen table. So different types of sabze, different types of flowers, painted eggs, which are a symbol of fertility, goldfish, all the good stuff, and also a whole bunch of other things that you don't even know you may need. Growing up, I usually made separate visits to the market, one with my grandma, one with my mom, just to get all the items that we needed and just spend some quality time together.
It looks beautiful, colorful, and it sounds like a fun time to be around folks like that. Tell us about what happened in this year's Nowruz celebration.
So this year's Nowruz celebration, at least one portion of it, was a dream come true for me. For the first time ever, the city of Roanoke celebrated Nowruz. So local colors, Blue Ridge Literacy, and the city of Roanoke worked together, and we had a really nice, even if a little bit or a very much cold celebration at Countryside Park. A lot of our community members from the Iranian and Afghan community, as well as other people who were interested in this ceremony, joined us. There was music, there was dancing, there was snow, and there were official remarks, but that was wonderful. In addition to that, over the past 2 years, we've been setting up a half-seen table at Blue Ridge Literacy every year. So we are really expanding our Nowruz tradition, and I just can't wait for next year.
Yeah, so there other learners too? You have learners that are also from Iran and celebrating the same holiday, so you get to do that together.
Exactly. Nowruz is not only celebrated in Iran, it's celebrated in Iran, in Afghanistan, in Tajikistan, in Azerbaijan, and in a lot of different parts of Central Asia. The traditions may be a little bit different, but the concept is still the same.
Wow, how often, like that entire section of the world, like celebrating something together, even though they're different countries and different cultures. So let's wrap up our time together with this question. What do you want our viewers to take away as they learn about your story, how you got connected with Blue Ridge Literacy, and the Nowruz celebration?
I think when we talk about any type of tradition, especially when somebody's sharing their stories, it's good to think and reflect on the uniquenesses that these stories bring, but also the common patterns. Again, Nowruz, if it is our New Year, it is also the New Year in the world, at least in the Northern Hemisphere. It's the beginning of spring, it's a time of rebirth, it's a time of regrowth. Many of the elements on our table, or many of the rituals that we do throughout this ceremony have commonalities with what people do in other parts of the world. We are not very far from Easter, where the fertility and egg has a recurring theme. I think if we think about different cultures or even our own stories, we can just find so many commonalities in the way that families meet each other, in the ways that kids get excited. And I think that would be a very great takeaway of this conversation.
That's great. Thanks again, Ahoo, for being here and for sharing your stories and for giving us, the pleasure of learning about the wonderful background that you have, the culture and traditions that you enjoy with your family.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, until next time, I hope you get to take some time to listen to somebody else's story and celebrate their traditions, just like we did today.